Hello. This report is usually one of the easier of the chair's duties. There will be a brief discussion of past triumphs, mention of anything significant from the AGM, and a happy anticipation of concerts and events to come in the new season. I wish. It's difficult to recall now, but the period from July to February was normal. We welcomed Michael Overbury as our new accompanist in September, and he has quickly become a very decorative part of the furniture. We enjoyed singing Baroque music in Europe Parish Church in November, although we all urgently need to recover the art of selling more tickets. The Christmas concert was a joyous occasion, with the Carmarthen School Choir in excellent form. And in January, we started rehearsing Brahms' The German Requiem, in anticipation of a performance with our very good friends from Mansfield Choral Society in the Minster in May. Also in prospect was Bach's Mass in B minor, to be sung with our equally good friends, Southwell Choral, in November. Then along came Corona. Hardly a speck of dust on the horizon in February, by March the virus came to dominate all our lives, and on March the 18th we suspended rehearsals. We still have little idea when normal service will be resumed, yet your committee is 100% determined that we will survive this inconvenience and emerge strongly when circumstances permit. So I will now tell you what we have been doing. The first thing that seemed important was to maintain contact with all of you, the members, and so the Bingham Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, was born. The BBC broadcast weekly during April, May and June, and will now continue fortnightly into the autumn. I know that the broad range of content has been much appreciated. Many people have contributed, but two deserve special thanks. Brad Coulson, our Treasurer, and Guy Turner, our MD. Both have given unstintingly of their time, and they've shown great ingenuity and inventiveness. And the project continues to rely on Brad the Controller's technical expertise. At the same time, we also set up the self-help scheme, which about half of you joined. Its purpose was to ensure that everyone who wished could have contact with fellow choir members. Soon after the suspension of rehearsals, it became clear that the Brahms concert could not go ahead, and then that the Bach in November was equally doomed. At the time of this report, we have no idea when public concerts will again be permitted, but we are still making plans, and we hope to reschedule both of those concerts. The headline feature of this newsletter is the Distance Learning Project. Brad Coulson's brainchild, this is centred around the sequence of British folk songs that Guy has recently composed at our commission. Full details can be found elsewhere in this newsletter. For a while, we cherished the hope that we would be able to resume rehearsals in September. But since we couldn't work towards the concert, we thought, let's make a CD of Christmas music. We've done enough groundwork to know to establish that that idea could work. However, Carmarthen School pulled the plug on us by cancelling our bookings for their hall until further notice. They're worried about the possibility of cross-contamination, which is entirely understandable. All the other venues where we might rehearse seem to have similar hiring moratoria in place, unless that is you no different. Before we meet again, whenever that might be, we need to address the issue of safety. We are not a young group, and it may be that rehearsing together, even with the social distance of 2 meters between us, is too risky. To consider this and other difficult safety issues, I have established an autonomous safety committee consisting of Sally Ashton, our current Vice Chair, John Bannister, previous Chair, Judy Unell, and Dr. Tim Comery. Their considerations will regulate under what conditions we can restart rehearsals when venues become available. We are not able to make any concrete plans yet for the rest of the 2020-2021 season, but we have already given considerable thought to the session 2021-22, which will see the 50th anniversary of our foundation. This, fingers crossed, will have two centrepiece concerts. The last night of the Proms, jointly with Mansfield Choral in the Minster on November the 27th next year, and Handel's Messiah, jointly with Newark Choral Society on April the 30th, 2022. You have already been involved in the selection of the Proms music, and full details can be found in Guy's report. Messiah was the first work performed by Bingham District Choral Society back in 1972, and more details about our anniversary celebration can be found in Judy Unell's article. We should have had an AGM in May, and not surprisingly, our constitution makes no provision for the effects of the pandemic. Your committee has unanimously agreed that an AGM will be held as soon as practicable. Until then, I am pleased to say that all members have agreed to remain in post. Until we are able to hold an AGM, expenses and costs will be met from our reserves. We have been saddened in the last year by the death of loyal alto Pam Brooks and by that of her fellow auditor-examiner, Hugh Holbrook. Hugh's wife, Joy, continues to sing with us. Our sympathies also went out to Bob Middleton, whose wife died suddenly, and to Sheila Barwick, who lost her husband after a long illness. We are very sad that former Chair Jeff Crampton is seriously ill. I finished the official bit of this report by some heartfelt thank yous, starting with Guy and Michael, who were a wonderful and wonderfully musical combination. I also want to thank Hugh Cadwallader and Dr. David Morgan, who are now our examiners. I want to thank David Atkins for again smoothly running the 100 Club. I want to thank very many of you who contribute, for example, by providing tea and coffee on the rota, or by setting out and putting away chairs, or by helping at concerts, especially at Christmas. I was out of action due to a fall earlier this year. I want to thank Sally Ashton, our Vice Chair, for running things smoothly in my absence. I also want to thank you for all your messages of goodwill at that time. And lastly, and very sincerely, I want to thank all of the committee. There could not be a more hard-working, practical, thoughtful, likeable, and considerate bunch of people. You and I are lucky to have them. For those of you continuing to watch the video, here's a little extra, provided by one of our altos. It's a new parrot joke. The great Supremo was an illusionist and magician who operated at the beginning of the last century. So successful was he that he was one of those who was booked to entertain the passengers on the maiden voyage of the Titanic. And he'd always operated with a succession of parrots, and he took with him on the Titanic voyage his new parrot, Scott. Scott turned out to be a bit of a disaster because he was a real lippy so-and-so. Oh, we saw where that came from, he would say when Supremo produced a rabbit, or when Supremo did a card trick. Oh, we all know all of that deck of cards, they're all absolutely the same. As I say, a real pain. And then came the sinking. The morning after the sinking, Scott and Supremo woke up alone in a lifeboat on the grey Atlantic Ocean. And Scott was quiet. And Scott was quiet. For 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, Scott was quiet. But eventually he said, "Please, sir, where have you put the big boat?" Thank you. Stay safe.